From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Oh, there you are, sweet Jesus. Come back to Papa.
The highs and lows, are just can be pretty brutal, that place. But, I think that's what is so fun about it is the challenges.
I saw Will Power smack the wall out of 4 with 10 to go. I mean, he's still going.
Dixon?
No. Connor.
Oh, Connor, yeah.
Yeah, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Connor, and, well, you got to pick a direction, pal, and I'll stick with you.
Oh, I don't know. You lose track about halfway through.
I go to move when it's full of methanol. Both of them are full of methanol. Big bang. I turn around and the glasses are smoking. And he goes, whoa, good thing you gave me those, right?
I'm Scott Dixon.
I'm Antron Brown.
Hey, I'm Ron Cap.
I'm Connor Daly.
I'm James Hinchcliffe.
I'm Mario Andretti, and this is The Skinny.
Boy, do we have a special guest for you here today on The Skinny. How about United States Driver of the Year for 3 decades in a row by the Associated Press and by Racer Magazine, Driver of the Century, and then also named Greatest American Driver Ever by Racer Magazine. Without question, the most iconic name in all of motorsports, a household name for people that don't even know about racing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man, the GOAT, for sure, Mario Andretti, to the show. Welcome, Mario.
Thank you, Ken. I'm just pinching myself.
The one thing that catches me is the name. And the first question that I wanted to ask you is, there's no way you could have ever planned this, but your name is the largest name in motorsports history. at least in my lifetime, for sure. Maybe of somebody that's equivalent, but I don't know of anybody else where a household name in some household that has never watched racing anywhere in the generations of their family. You say Mario Andretti, and they know exactly who you are and what the reference is.
Well, the only thing I can say is probably the love that I have for the sport just is on my sleeve, and you can see it. I know that I'll match anyone, that loves the sport more than I do, and how grateful I am, obviously, for everything that's happened to me, and how fortunate I've been throughout my career to be able to just retire on my own, obviously. Without any being forced to, and be free of injury and all that throughout 896 races or so in my life. I only missed 2 because of injury. All of that, and again, I satisfied my most ambitious goals, and I don't know what else I could ask for.
It's been absolutely incredible. Without question, the most prestigious guest we've had on our show. And we've had some pretty big dogs, people like some guy named Scott Dixon. We've had Ron Capps on here. We've had some fat cats on this show, but you're the man at the top of the list. There's no denying that one.
Well, thank you.
Your relationship with everybody, that's the passion they have for you. They love to smile. Your passion just flows out of you, and I think everybody gravitates towards it.
Well, like I said, that's for sure. Like I lived it all, if you will. I tried to satisfy myself by being curious and getting a taste of all the different disciplines at the top level. This is something that just progressed as my life and my career progressed. Obviously, I started looking over my shoulder. Oh, I wonder how it is on this side, that side, and had the opportunity to be with very top teams, which is the only way that you can come home with some results. So all of that, it was very, very meaningful. When I look back, I didn't leave too many stones unturned, quite honestly.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We assembled 4 other buddies. I always say we're the usual geek that knows everything, because we didn't know anything. and then we started building a car to race locally here in Nazareth.
The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. General Tire. General Tire delivers. and Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to the Skinny. Ken Stout with you, Rico Elmore alongside Michael Young back behind the controls. We also have Greg Hunter with us as well, shadowing Michael. So when Michael goes off on vacation like he did last week, we can continue on. We appreciate that, Greg. And of course, the man that's in the studio with us here this week is none other than Mario Andretti. And we certainly appreciate his time. Everybody's always tugging at his shirt tails for sure to try and get some time. But doing a little bit of research on you, you know, obviously everybody's, I don't want to say everybody's familiar with your racing accomplishments, but they all understand how talented you are. But I did not realize what your parents had to go through back when you were very, very young before you came here to the States. You and your brother Aldo, of course, living in Montona, I believe is how it's pronounced, which is now part of Croatia. And then it was annexed by Yugoslavia at the end of World War II, and the Andretti family left in '48 during the Dalmatian exodus and ending up in a refugee camp in Lucca, Italy. Do you remember any of those days?
Oh, of course. I mean, I lived there, again, the first 15 years of my life. And when we left our, land of birth, if you will, Montona, which is inside the peninsula of Istria, I was already 8 years of age, and we became refugees in our own country. Really, when that area was annexed to Yugoslavia, which is hardline communism, Marshal Tito, and so forth, we had to, make it. My dad, obviously, my parents had to make a decision, either to succumb to hardline communism or just leave him and keep our Italians. Citizenship and so forth, and again, just leave everything behind. That's what thousands and thousands of the people of that area that left. It's estimated close to 200,000 people in that area that left, and I found those people all over the world, just traveling and racing Formula One, and it's the people migrated to Argentina, to Brazil, to Australia, to New Zealand, and on and on. Aldo and my dreams began while we were still there in Italy. I said this a million times because in the 50s, especially the early 50s, Italy was so prominent in Formula One with Ferrari, Maserati, that's Alfa Romeo, and Italian present world champions. This is where my passion began. Aldo and I just started following the sport, through either magazines or even newsreels, in the movies that they would show, live newsreels. And we saw our very first race, first big race in Monza in 1954 at age 14. And the mold was cast. From there on, in our own mind, at least, there was no plan B. Aldo and I had such a burning passion and desire to pursue this. And when we arrived in America in '55, age 15, 2 years later, we assembled 4 other buddies. I always say we're the usual geek that knows everything, because we didn't know anything. And then we started. We started building a car to race locally here in Nazareth. There was a nice half-mile dirt track, modified sportsman cars, and that's how it started. 2 years later, age 19, Aldo and I started racing. 1 car, 2 drivers. We used to alternate 1 week. We used to race 3 different tracks here in each weekend. And that's it. My career technically started in '59 and was never interrupted, until officially I came out of the open cockpit in 1994. So I had a great span.
An absolute rags to riches. I mean, the true American story coming over here, starting from nothing and making it to the level that you've made it at. Nothing short of exceptional. And ladies and gentlemen, I promise you there are plenty of rivalries along the way. When we come back, we'll ask him about a couple of them.
So, he would do his stuff, and then we'd take off. I'd take off and just go a little bit of joyriding, and then come back, and he says, well, did you have a good ride?
Welcome back to The Skinny. We are super excited here as we're wrapping up the end of our first season here on MAVTV. We have Mario Andretti in the house. Couldn't be happier about that for sure. We appreciate his time. And Michael Young has been covering IndyCar for many, many years throughout his career down on pit road. If you listen to IMS radio, you will hear him from time to time for sure. So I'm going to throw it over to Michael because I know he knows this guy as well as anybody in the room.
Well, it's funny. I've spent so much time with Mario, but one of my favorite stories, and Mario, if you could indulge us, you and your brother Aldo, I asked one time your first time you ever rode any motorized vehicle, and it may have been the Priest's motorcycle or something along those lines. I thought was a fantastic story if you could share.
Well, yes, while we were in the refugee camp in Lucca in Tuscany, we were actually the camp. It was like an old convent, and next to a beautiful church there inside the walls, and this the priest was Lorenzo Tambellini. Was a wonderful man who was a chaplain, for the camp, and he made sure that us kids had things to do, a lot of activities and so forth to keep us out of trouble, and we befriended him, of course, in the best possible way. And especially because he owned one of these scooters, like, which was very popular, like the Vespa. He owned a Vespa, then a Lambretta. And he always had chores to do, somewhere, and go here and there. And we used to ask him, can we go along? And he would oblige. He said, yeah, for sure, go along, and then you can hang on to that thing, and watch it for us while I'm doing my business. And so, he would do his stuff, and then we'd take off. I'd take off and just go a little bit of joyriding, and then come back, and he says, well, did you have a good ride? I said, yeah, for sure. We'd make him wait, but he knew how much we really enjoyed doing that. And he would go along, and that was our chance, to drive something motorized. And there was another story actually, right across right across from the camp. There was a very large square, and there was a garage there where there was repairs, but also they used to do this parking garage, which was a very premium inside the walls of this beautiful city, Lucca. And we obviously, Aldo and I befriended the owners. Were wonderful people, and that's where I learned how to drive. As soon as I could reach the pedals, which we were not very tall even then, but starting at Fiat Topolino, and they used to let us park the cars, and as things went on, we got a little bit older. We started about 12 when we were about 14, 15. We started driving some of the, the spiffier cars like Alfa Romeo, Lancias, and now and then we just do a burnout, and so forth. And today when I valet car, I always say when I valet my car today, I wonder if they're doing what I
Yes, they are.
You're getting paid back. Guaranteed.
Guaranteed they are doing that.
Yeah.
So what was his thoughts on where you ended up? He had to be proud.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing how much they followed the sport and always saying, Mario, we're praying for you, stay safe and so forth. And now that you mentioned Rico, I always had to today in the cockpit, I always had that just a small prayer and just, said, take care of me today and so on and so forth. And I always felt so safe because of that. I felt like I was okay. I had some help there. I had somebody watching after me. And I believe that today that was a fact.
Did you have that
Still
in the new F? Did you have that in the
still,
new F?
Yeah, I'm still very dangerous.
Did you have that in the new F1 car when you got to drive that?
Oh yeah, you bet. Even yeah, I asked both of them, not just one.
That had to be quite the exhilaration driving that thing and all the new technology.
Yeah,
What did you think of that?
Yeah, Rico, I just wanted to be as up to date as possible. Of course, again, you say, okay, this is 2013, but the technology, it's maybe slightly more refined today, even, but it's basically a lot of the things you have today was then, and I wanted to have that opportunity, and Zach Brown gave me that, obviously, after I expressed myself, and so that was huge. That really checked off one of my bucket list items. But yeah, just to feel the power, the acceleration and the braking and all that, and again, I could have kept on running. I wish I could have kept running Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, even up to
today. What struck me about that entire situation was the moment you heard. I remember watching whatever race it was where Zach threw that out, and they had a camera on you, and your eyes perked up, and I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy that's 81 years old. There's probably not a whole lot he hasn't accomplished that he wants to accomplish, but I remember your face lighting up like a little kid. You smiled from ear to ear, and it was like you just landed your first ride in IndyCar or something. You could not have been any happier, and you called him right out on it.
It's very true. Yeah, it's true because all of this started 2 years ago when I was in Goodwood, and he had the present Formula One car there on display, and I sat in it, and I said, "Man, I'd like to have a go at something like this," and he sort of reacted to it. He said, "Maybe we can make it happen," and this year it was in Miami, and a couple times, well, obviously, run into Zach, and we chat and so on and so forth, and he said he kept saying, I haven't forgotten, so we're in Miami this past May, and he said, Martin Brundle would like to chat with you. Obviously, he's for Sky Sport, and I thought it was a bit of an interview, and there was Zach, and he drops that on me. He says, hey, by the way, we're going to make this happen. We'll have a little bit of a go at Laguna Seca the year before. Then we'll be at Coda. And I said, oh, man, now he's announced this to the world, so there's no way he can back out of it. And I said, man, I got my ride. Like you said, moment of joy. And then I had time to savor that for a few months there, until it all happened. And true to his word, he had the car there. And again, I owe him a great deal.
Super, super cool story for sure, and we appreciate Zach Brown letting you do something like that as well. Hey, we're going to be back here in just a couple of moments. As you might imagine, he had some formidable competition all along the way. We're going to ask him about a couple of those drivers when we come back.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Not only Michael, I think, my wife, the answer is, Mario, how can you do that to your son? I said, well, it's very easy. As we know.
The Skinny is brought to you by Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil, keep that engine alive. Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. Toyota, let's go places. And General Tire. General Tire delivers.
Welcome back to The Skinny. We have Mario Andretti coming to us remote here as we end up our first season, saving the absolute best for last here. Hope you enjoy the show so far. Plenty more good things to come as we talk to him about some of the competitors he had along the way, and certainly some of the best of all time who you competed against. Is there one person that jumps out at you that you seem to just inherently battle with? No matter what happened, you were always around that driver, and he was tough?
Well, there's definitely more than one, and the ones that comes to mind always is AJ Foyt because he was established champion when I broke into the top rank, which is USAC Champ Cars in 1965, and again, he was setting the mark, and because of drivers like him and others around that are better, I mean, they're much better than you are, obviously, at the time, it just makes you work harder because, let's face it, if you're looking to bring in some results and get satisfaction out of what you're doing, you're going to work hard. Nothing's going to come easy, but they are the ones that are your inspiration. And for the longest period, I mean, he was the guy. And for me to win the national championship in my rookie year, that thing, made me feel like, you know what, Mario, maybe you belong in this business, because you're always trying to feel, do I belong? Am I doing it? Am I good enough? And so on and so forth. And all these things are so encouraging. And I remember just being around the right people at the time, like, Clint Bronner, Jim McGee, and Clint Bronner having had the wisdom, of experience, so forth, and understanding, how, how much energy I had to give and to be sure that I just don't go out there and overdo it too much. The best things they used to do for me was to tell me, Mario, as fast as you're going to go, it's good enough for us. You're just trying to, like Jim McGee says, hey, man, I used to think maybe I better send him a Christmas card in July because I don't think he's going to live until Christmas, type of thing. That's kind of where
that's kind of where I thought he was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, because you force yourself. At the time, you try to force yourself beyond what your capabilities are, only because, man, I want to be at drive this person's level. I want to do it. And if you got the right people around you, to say, you know what, one thing I've learned too, that you can never teach anybody to go fast. But you can also, if they have it in their belly, you can just slow them down just a little bit so they don't overdo it. And that's what you do to a young upstart and so on and so forth. And I had that guidance, which was all important for me, quite honestly, and maybe even gave me more life in the business because you just always have a tendency to, I wonder if I'm good enough, I wonder if I'm fast enough, all of that goes through you. And again, I look back at all of that help that I could not appreciate at the moment, but I certainly do now, and I know just how important it is to have the right people around you.
I got to tell you something that I was super impressed with, kind of shifting gears a little bit, but still in the family. So I watched Marco last year. I attended a better part of the SRX races with Tony. So I watched Marco, and then I watched him this year. He's a stock car driver. He is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I never ever doubted Marco's talent. I mean, I've seen that. I remember when he was just a young lad in a four-wheeler one time. The way he used to handle some of those toys, and so it's in him. It's just that he has to do what satisfies him the most, and he has to be happy. He doesn't want to have any outside pressures, and I have to respect that. As you say in the SRS series, he just handled that perfectly. He won some races. He was always there, and he wins that championship. It seemed like he enjoyed that. His objectives, I think, to do some sports car racing. There's something that is going to be happening, I think, within Michael's team as time goes on. And so, again, the one thing that he does have is talent, and he has shown that time to time. Like even qualifying for Indianapolis when he was on pole a couple of years ago. Well, during that pandemic, I wasn't even there for a while, and I watched that lap. I said, man, that was amazing. So when he really wants to, he can get it up there because he has that natural talent, as you say, that if he really feels good about things when he displays, he knows what he's doing.
So I think I'm going to lobby for this, and then I got to give Michael the next shout here, but I'm going to lobby for it. He's already had father-son. Why not father-son, grandfather in the SRX series? He's got to have all three of the Andrettis.
Boy, that's a great idea.
You would do it, wouldn't you?
Well, I've been asked, but
race one race.
No, I think one Andretti in that series is enough. we'd be out there crashing each other.
Okay, point taken.
It's funny, Mario. We look back on your career and the great battles you had with your son, Michael. And I look back to one special race. It was in Portland, and one of the best battles. And Michael had the race in his hand. It was on Father's Day weekend, and never had I seen you more happy to beat your son on a very special weekend. And I couldn't believe how upset Michael was that he lost.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Not only Michael, I think, my wife, the answer is, Mario, how can you do that to your son? I said, well, it's very easy. As we know.
He said it's my day, not his day.
You said it, Michael. I mean, he had the race in hand, and there was no way I could catch him. And was a couple laps from the end. Brian Lyle, my engineer, is screaming to me, Michael is having some fuel pickup problems, man. I stood on that seat, and we're coming down for the flag race to the line, and I'm looking at him. I have a big photo. I'm a sports bar here, and I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I beat him by like 2 inches, and I said I beat him. I didn't know for sure, but I beat him. Then Michael Knight comes over to me and he tells me, yeah, I could beat him by 7/1000 of a second, and so anyway, we're on the podium, and Michael was not very happy. Someone said to her, hey, Mike, lighten up. It's Father's Day. He said, oh, okay. Happy Father's Day, Dad. So it was a very quiet voyage back home, on the airplane.
Some absolute gold, no question about that. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to hear about the success that Mario has had alongside his son. Stay with us.
Play around, and then on track we just try to kill each other and then have a beer later. So it was awesome.
Welcome back once again to the Skinny. Ken Stout, Rico, Elmore in the house here. Michael Young also with a great addition to the show here because Mario Andretti is in the house. We couldn't be happier for it. And we're going to find out some of the accomplishments that he's had alongside his son. Really record-setting numbers when you hear about all the accomplishments and the success that he had racing an IndyCar right alongside his son, Michael. It was really nothing short of incredible, Mario.
When you look back, really, the satisfaction as a family that we derived along the way, Michael, Jeff, and John. I mean, in 1991, 92, there were 4 of us qualified for the Indy 500. It never happened before or since. 4 members of the same family in that race. And, Michael and I been on podium, 15 times in an IndyCar race. 10 times on the front row and 5 times first and second. Michael, John, and myself, we 24 hours of Le Mans, Daytona, 24 hours. Michael, my son Jeff, and myself. Again, it's as a family. What was in? I think 1986, Pocono 500. Michael was on pole. I won the 500. Jeff was on pole for his supporting race, was ARS at the time, Indy Lights equivalent. And he was on pole for that, and he won that race. So between the three of us, we cleaned house in the whole program that weekend. Nobody paid attention. We did, and we celebrated that. But as a family, can you imagine? We're leaving, looking back, and how we just how precious that was for us.
So I've been teasing the crowd here about the people that you raced with along the way. You mentioned AJ Foyt. Do you remember when you met AJ? How did that go down?
I'm not sure it was very pleasant, actually. I think it must have been after some sort of altercation. I think we raced hard, and I felt really bad. I think we came together in Phoenix, coming off the dog leg going into 3. One point where I didn't give him much room, and I think he crashed, and I never felt worse in my life, But here again, overall, though, I think there was some mutual respect. The one thing that I can tell you, I felt that I never felt threatened in any way on the track, like that he would do something terrible, something stupid, to crash or anything else. I knew that he was smarter than that, and I think that was very important. But we had a couple of altercations along the way, and that's almost inevitable. We're running close, but overall, as I said, it was he and I are best buddies right now. I can tell
you can outrun him, right?
You
can still outrun him.
And let's go with that one.
So if I were to pick out another driver that was just as witty with his words as he was with the car, I think Bobby Unser would have to come to mind. Talk to me about some of the stories and some of the racing with Bobby.
Oh, I mean, Bobby and I along the way, and Al Jr., but especially the two brothers, we had a great time. I mean, we raced hard, and there was never any issue because we were really close friends. We spent time together, off the track, and play around, and then on track we just try to kill each other and then have a beer later. So it was really it was awesome racing together. I was teammates with Al, with Vels and Parnelli. It was really, really fun in '73 and '74 when we were running the dirt track series that was taken out of the national championship on its own, and we had those Vels Parnelli cars with the Ford overhead cam engine, and we were just dominating between Al and I, and what a great time. So looking back at all of it, traveling together to and from the races, I remember with Bobby, he had his own plane. I used to pay for the fuel, and that was my way over with him, and we had a few situations. I remember it was in New Bremen. It was at that small airfield, a grass airfield actually, and he's coming to pick me up, and he's buzzing around there, and then I said, "What's going on? Why is he not landing? Well, he can't get the gear down." So I said, "Well, it's a great airplane, I'm thinking I'm supposed to go with him from here," and then he lands, and actually, the gear didn't come down, so he just pancakes the airplane in there, and he's looking around. Hey, we can get this fixed by tomorrow. So, we have a lot of those stories, but it was a great life between us, and it was so many good things happening. It was fun things, quite honestly, just along the way, and then we get on the track, we get very serious, and all these, these friendships, just, are worth a lifetime, quite honestly. I go back, I all along there, you mentioned Johnny Rutherford. Here again, I was even a teammate of his, at one point, with Wally Muskowski's sprinter and so forth. So sometime when we talk about these things, we can go on and on and on and keep telling one story after another, and showing just how good the life was at the time among all of us. A lot of camaraderie.
Yeah, the stories are absolute gold, and that's what we love about it, the camaraderie and, of course, the lifelong relationships that are born out of it. We have plenty more stories of gold when we come back. Stay with us.
Guy's looking at me and he says, "Hey, you hit the wall." I says, "Look at me." It wasn't me. It was Davey. "No, it wasn't." "Look at me." It was Davey. And I convinced him that it was Davey.
The Skinny is brought to you by General Tire. General Tire delivers. Toyota. Toyota. Let's go places. Lucas Oil. Lucas Oil. Keep that engine alive. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear. Hardcore since '04.
Welcome back to the Skinny. We have the best of all time. He is flamboyant. He's adorable. People love him. He's a vicious racer on the track. Certainly proved that with all of his success. And even to this day, if you think that Mario Andretti isn't competitive, well, I've got news for you. We're going to bring you some stories here right now because we got a little bit of dirt on him as well about how things go down. We'll let him tell a couple of stories, but to kick things off here, you should know that he drives a two-seater at the IndyCar event. So if you go to an IndyCar event, make sure you look it up because you can have an opportunity to ride with this guy. But here's what we know in talking. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but it rhymes with Davey and sounds like Hamilton. So, according to Davey, you guys will be out at a racetrack and given two-seater rides, and if times are available, or at least if it says like the number of the car on top of the scoreboard, you aggressively want to be the fastest car out there, giving the fastest rides, and have your number at the top of the scoreboard. And according to Davey, he said from time to time, if he can snag a new set of tires at the end of the day, just to put a lap time on you, that it drives you absolutely crazy.
Well, that's natural, Nothing new there, for sure, But we all get on really well. I'll tell you a little story. It was at Indy, and it was during a normal run, and it was really quite windy. So anyway, I came off of turn 2, and I just touched the wall, just the barrier, the safe barrier. And the corner worker came over, and he says, "Hey," he said, "Andretti just hit the wall down there into it." And the guy's looking at me, and he says, "Hey, you hit the wall." I says, "Look at me." It wasn't me. It was Davey. "No, it wasn't." "Look at me." It was Davey. And I convinced him that it was Davey.
The power of Andretti tells him it was Davey.
Absolutely incredible. That's one thing about you, man. When you get inside of the race car and put the helmet on, it's time to go. That's something I think everybody appreciates about you.
That's what it's all about. Obviously, like I said, even if quite a few years back, I was supposed to do. I was already out of the cockpit. A demonstration with a Lotus 49 at Long Beach, and they said just do a little parade around, and I'm going wow wow wow. Kind of man, I love the sound of this. So it's there's no way that you're going to go around and just piddle around in it and not get the real flavor of it.
When you were at Indy, and it was one of Michael's cars, I believe, and you were testing it, airborne down the front straightaway or at the end of the front straightaway, how did that all transpire? What was the?
Well, I was actually, I was testing it back because there was a possibility that I would have had to qualify the car. This was in 2003, by the way, and Tony Kanaan at the race before coming to Indy in Japan, he had yeah, he had a crash where he broke a bone on his wrist, left wrist. There was a possibility he could not qualify, but he could race. And so I was the insurance there for Michael, and there was a test, the open test. And I said, I had been out of IndyCar for 9 years already, so I said, I'm going to go for it. And everything, felt perfectly beautiful for me all day. I think we were gaining, we're doing good setups. My speed was up there. And right at the last run of the day, I wanted to put a big number, a big toe, and get a big number on the board. Because by myself, I was quickest that day. And so I was following Kenny Brack and the other Honda. And going into turn one, he blew the engine. And I had no warning because, you just don't have that kind of, you don't have anyone really watching, and so anyway, I arrived on the scene there, and it was a piece of his car, and actually, when he hit the wall, part of the safe wall, part of it came out on the track, and it was in the middle of the track, and I hit that and went underneath, and it dislodged the car, the front, and as soon as it did that, the car started flying like an airplane. And so, I mean, you can still watch that on YouTube. It says Mario's crash at Indy, and you can see the whole thing, even in slow motion. I was so fortunate because I did a couple of flips backwards, and then fortunately the car landed on its wheels, and it was my Uncle Priest, and looking after me, and everything was fine. I mean, the car was not. It was a brand new chassis. I really felt bad for Michael, but I was okay.
Yeah, I kind of figured that. I mean, how lucky you were, because I remember it happening. I remember seeing it. I remember watching it, and was happy that was the outcome by all means. But it was definitely wild, and I didn't know the whole backstory on it. But there will be a highlight of that in this show, so everybody will get to check that out.
Yeah, it was a scary moment.
For me, I'm thinking while I'm flying, I think, oh my goodness, like after all these years, now all of a sudden, this is kind of, you know what I mean? It just came over me and said, oh man, but I got away from it. I got away with it.
Mario, we can't thank you enough, man. You're such a great ambassador for the sport. The smile on your face brings light to the room anytime you walk in. The memories you've given us, what you've brought to the world with your talents and your dedication to this sport. There's not enough words of gratitude to send your way, man. We really appreciate it.
You're very kind. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
So Mario Andretti, of course, the true GOAT, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to motorsports. Phenomenal individual. If you get out to an IndyCar race, make sure you look him up. Who knows, maybe you'll get a chance to ride in the car with him. What a great way to end our season here, year number 1 on MAVTV of the Skinny. Hope you enjoyed all the great stories all along the way. For Michael Young, Rico Elmore, I'm Ken Stout. We'll see you in 2023.